What's up, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to my favorite game of the EWC from last week. It is herO versus herO Game 5 of the lower bracket finals. This was also the best series of the tournament, but this single map, in my opinion, also was the best map of the tournament. It was a lot of back and forth. There were some good plays, there were some bad plays, honestly. There was a little bit of back and forth throwing going on there. And I want to explain to you guys why I think this game was actually the one where herO really was meant to win. I think herO had this game almost won and then he threw it. This was a much more sizable throw than the one on the one game on Crimson Court that they had, where he lost a lot of Void Rays to the Corrosive Battle, which I'm sure all of you guys have seen by now. This game in particular, though, was great. It was in true herO fashion, even though he did just play super standard into late game, which we really didn't expect before the tournament. In true herO fashion, he made it wide. He made some plays that were unbelievably good, and then he had some plays that were not so good. Let's just put it that way, right? So the game starts off very standard. herO goes for double adepts, doesn't commit in, goes for a quick third. Only does this off a single gateway, shades back towards the Oracle as late as possible, so the moment link speed is done, he shades to the Oracle for safety. The reason he can do this with only a single gateway is because he has a wall here, since he has the pylon on the wall, right? And he has the two adepts on the other side, forcing some links to be there, together with the Oracle protecting the two adepts, and then he just keeps shading in. This is a very safe, solid, and standard opener from herO. Also a very economic opener. If you don't deal a lot of damage with this is fine. But given that it's herO, he's probably used to dealing at least some damage. So here he goes in. Doesn't really find anything. Activates both Oracles for 2 drone kills here. And then even goes to the natural kills 2 more, so that's 4 drone kills. And gets 6 overall. For a bunch of HP on the first 2 Oracles. These drones weren't killed super early though. If you lose 6 drones against the first Oracle and the 2 adepts, you're basically dead. On this level, you're completely dead. I don't think there's much you can do to come back. Whereas now, these Oracles kill these drones quite late. So that's less mining time lost than you would otherwise have it. This is an oversaturation, and that's because herO really respects herO's ability to harass. herO always pokes in between the bases to try and find the drones that are transferring. It's very hard against a player like herO to kill drones that are inside the eco lines. So drones that are mining from the minerals are very difficult to kill if you're playing against a top Zerg. And they are the most vulnerable when they're transferring from main to third or from natural to third. They're quite easy to kill in that regard. So herO keeps up the aggression. Here he tried to kill this, but he activated an Oracle with exactly 25 or 26 energy, so he couldn't kill it. So that was unfortunate, and he shades on top of the Zerglings. I would say so far he was in an even position, but now he shades on top of the Zerglings. This goes down, he uses up the energy. He now shades into the main base. herO only left the queens. Always try to follow the shade with the Zerglings that you have. So if he's following it with the Zerglings, he's perfectly in position. Deals with the double stasis wards, only getting 2 drones denied, which I think is a very good defense, and I think now herO is slightly ahead in the early game. herO behind this is just playing standard blink, so it's not like you can kill him or anything like that. He's playing very safe as well. He went blind cannon battery, late robo, 6 gas, not even that early either. So herO just playing a very safe follow-up, and herO with the good early game that he had, he goes straight into an infestation pit. So he wants to get up quick lurkers, and that's the way he wants to play against this. I personally dislike playing like this. If herO, for example, was to go for a 6 gate without a forge, or even a 7 gate with a proxy gateway, and then you try to blink on it, it's very difficult to hold this without +1 melee, so herO is gambling a little bit. But at this point, herO already showed a lot of ZVPs. herO has played against him before in this tournament. herO also played against Solar, where he showed that he likes to play just Blink Storm. And herO also beat Rainer already in the group stage, I think also 3-0 at that point with Blink Storm. So herO is like, okay, I know what you like to play, and against this, I just want to go straight to the late game with the lurkers. So herO is skipping some corners, he's not going for the +1 melee, and instead, he went for quick roach speed, and he's going for a very quick hive. And that should be fine. That being said though, even if I predict this is what's gonna happen, I would rather maybe skip the roaches, go for a quick +1 melee, and then you can still get up the lurkers, but herO is playing it a little bit more safely. So if herO was to go for maybe a charge lot attack afterwards, which he's absolutely capable of doing, or some charge lot Archon stuff, he in this case is more safe with the roaches that he's going for. And in return, he can't really punish these stalkers for being on the map, so it's very difficult to spread creep. This is not only because hero's so active, but it's just impossible to fight back these stalkers, surround them and kill them if you don't have many zerglings with +1 melee. Because this army, it just doesn't kill stalkers off creep very well. So hero takes a fort base. Tries to blink forward, catches some units. He's playing it super safe, not probing up too early whatsoever. He saw that there were no gases here yet, and he saw a lot of zerglings with roaches, so this could still be an all-in. So he droned up very, very safely. He added the robo very late. I think he made like 6 gates, or even 8 gates. So yeah. He played it quite safe. He went for a second forge. So now he's double upgrading and he's going storm. This is just pretty much as standard as it gets.
Research complete.
He has no confirmation, I believe, of the hive timing. Yeah, he does not know. So he's not rushing out the fleet beacon. Let's see when he sees the lurkers for the first time. Now he sees them. He revelates, and I think instantly we're gonna see a transition into Tempest. That's usually how he likes to hold the lurker timings. One thing that he does super well is always being on the map. If the Protoss, let's take a look at it from Cyrus' perspective, right? How do you actually move out with the lurkers? Your opponent is constantly being here and here, which is exactly where you want to move if you want to kill your opponent. So what you then have to do is you kind of want to have a big run by going, and then that forces the opponent back, and then you attack somewhere else with the lurkers. That's usually how it goes. But how can you do a quick run by if your opponent constantly threatens to attack? And since there is no creep from the early game and the early mid game from hero being constantly active with the stalkers, hero can reposition, and Sarah doesn't actually have vision of hero's army. This is very crucial because this means that Sarah needs to pre-split his lurkers a bit. So now that the army is here, he needs some lurkers here, and preferably some lurkers here, and some lurkers here. Because hero can quickly transition over with his army over here. And as you can see, if you're just moving the lurkers that are here, you're slower than your opponent because you need to unsiege them, go over to the base, and then siege them in a concave. Excuse me. So that now he's not in position to save his hatchery. So he has to cancel it. At the same time, he's going for the small link counterattack while still being safe at home, right? With most of his lurkers on his side of the map, he only has 8 at this point. And it is a 4 base versus 4 base situation. Hero didn't brush out the fleet beacon this time. Is this fleet beacon? It's fleet beacon. Alright, fusion core is the one from the Terrans. As he mostly wanted to max out on ground first and get some map control, which is completely fine to do. He also has double upgrades, so he has a really well upgraded ground army. He's also getting a second robo for more immortals. I like it. There's also War Prism here. And yeah, this map can feel very claustrophobic. If you play lurkers against someone being active with blink stalkers and you don't have creep, you don't exactly know where their army is. You just have to be pre-split with the lurkers. Otherwise, they can run into a position. And if your opponent is in a position, as we could see here, you can't run on top of him anymore with the lurkers. If you run on top of him, he just kills the lurkers. He storms while he retreats, and it will always be an awful fight. Lurkers are good at defending, they're good at holding positions. If you ever get into a good position, they can take good trades, but they are terrible at running at the Protoss army. You can't really do it. If they have a good army with storm and some range damage, could be Archons, Immortals, could also be some Stalkers even. They're so bad at running at your opponent's army. So the only way you will ever find a good trade if you're trying to run at them is with a huge surround where already half of your lurkers are set up. But they are mostly good defensively, and if they're already sieged up in position with a concave, with a good position. So the one way where Sarah thinks, okay, my opponent is on the map and he's pre-split, right? How do I move out? The only open path right now would be this one, but if he moves out with too much, he will lose on his side of the map since hero's active. This is why it's so difficult to play lurkers against Protoss players that understand how to have good army movement. First, you don't have exact vision of where their army is, and then very often they have vision of where your army is. And if you move out, and their army is already on the edge of creep, they can decide to attack. If you're moving out with too many lurkers, you will lose your bases. Like there is no way that they have their entire army here. You run around with, let's say, 10 lurkers or something actually scary, that they can't kill any of your bases. Like you cannot be set up everywhere. So since Cyril knows that, he's trying to go for the safest way of harassing, which is the Nidus Worm, and just Ling counterattacks. Because Lings will not hurt you on the defense, you can still be safe with the Lurkers. So now you can see Cyril was like, okay, I'm gonna try to get some of my Lurkers into the Nidus. The Nidus Worm got killed. He's out of position, he loses this base. That's already bad for him. Now he's 4 base against 4, and he finds the space at the very least again with the Zerglings. But I like the way that hero's moving his army. He's doing it really, really well. He always keeps Cyril on his toes. And the only good stuff that Cyril did so far mostly came from his Zerglings on the other side of the map. Now he's trying to once again Nidus. Hero being fluid with his army movement, he kind of tried to bunch up his units. This is a great catch from Cyril, getting 2 Immortals and High Templar is very annoying for Hero. Hero now sees that the Lurker is loaded up there, he goes forward, that's good. The Nidus Worm pops up here. And Hero, in this scenario, I think is in the perfect position to defend this, because he has a mothership and there is no detection here. He also realizes that, but then this is the first massive mistake that Hero makes in this game. Is this sequence that you're about to see here. So he uses the cloaking, right? Which is fine, he has a lot of stalkers here. If he uses the stalkers below the mothership, I can show it from Cyril's point of view. These stalkers just can kill all of the Lurkers for free, and there's nothing that Cyril can do. But Hero's issue is, he blinks forward, barely outside of the vision range, or rather not the vision range, the cloak range from the mothership, and he tries to focus fire down this Nidus Worm. He doesn't actually need to do this. If Cyril moves across with everything, he will die on his side of the map, and then you can recall, fight. This is always how it goes. With Lurkers, you can't just go across with everything, because you're gonna die to the army that's on the edge of creep. But Hero panicked a little bit, he tried to focus fire down the Nidus Worm and he went too far forward with his stalkers. That's the only reason why this army has any business surviving here. Then he flies in with the Oracles, because Hero is known to F2 a lot. He flies in with the Oracles, he loses all 3 Oracles, which are super important, not only for back at home, but also for this type of army, just in general, keeping track of the Zerg army. Revelation is probably the most powerful late game spell there is. And he blinks forward, he realizes, okay, if you're on my side of the map, you probably don't have enough in position, so he goes in here, kills this space, he kills this space, Cyril back down to 3 bases. So as long as he defends this properly, he should be fine, right? He also sees that there's not that much army here, so he should probably recall this ASAP. He kills it. He does have recall, so he could have recalled this, but Hero's busy warping in at this point. So he's not really paying attention to this. He's not really paying attention to this, because now the next mistake happens. He kind of commands his army back here and it gets surrounded. And he never even looks at it. This is the first time he looks at it now. He's like, oh damn. And if this doesn't happen, Hero's going up to 5 base. I don't think Cyril can ever kill him. He is way up in upgrades. It's 3-2 versus 2-0 Lurkers at this point. I think he just wins the game, if I'm being entirely honest. So this was a massive throw. This entire sequence here with sacking the Oracles, blinking outside of cloak range instead of just killing the Lurkers first, trying to focus fire down the Nidus. Yeah, it was a lot of panicking going on for Hero. But at the very least, he still killed 2 bases of Cyril, and it's not that easy to kill Hero at this point in the game. He even loses the mothership to a single queen, because he once again panics and he clicks the Nidus here. He clicks the Nidus with everything. He loses the High Templar that goes in range also to click the Nidus. Then he storms his own mothership and Immortal. And while this mothership is busy fighting the Nidus Worm, the one queen kills it, together with the storm. Insane sequence. Like, if you look at this fight, there's so many different things that Hero could have done to just clean this up. But this is a Game 5 tournament scenario where the loser of this has to go into the knockout bracket, which is super rough. It's single elimination, best of 3s. So I can understand that this is a very stressful situation. But these 5 Lurkers, this was really just 5 Lurkers, I think, should have never dealt this much damage. So now Cyril instantly counterattacks. He's very committed at this point. He's only on 3 bases. Main and natural, half dry. This base also for some reason is lacking 1 mineral patch. And all of the rest of his drones are just long distance mining. So Cyril actually needs to deal damage now. Every single minute that goes by is going to be very bad for Cyril at this point. So Hero finally clears this up. And now Cyril tries to attack here. Lurkers are terrible at fighting through these cannon defenses though. You need to siege them up out of cannon range, otherwise the cannons will start killing the lurkers. It's super annoying. So herO tries to do it slowly but surely. And then the moment there is storms together with cannons, it's very difficult to break through if you only have lurkers. Now he needs to siege up. He's afraid of getting surrounded. herO with a slight miss early there, but with some good storms. Gets a Nidus back up again over here as well. And now he's starting to make Tempest. herO is like, okay, I have the better army. Let me take this slowly. Let me try to get a better angle over here. At least over here I can't get surrounded, right? That's probably what herO is thinking at this point. Now he's also back up to 5 base versus 5, so he still has the lead. The reason he has the lead is because herO massively messed up here and here. But we also need to remember that I think herO put himself into a good position beforehand with just very good army movement. So now he goes here, he Niduses the queens forward. He Niduses the queens forward for transfusions, which really helps him. At the same time, he tries to put another Nidus up here into the main base of herO, where a Tempest just spawned. And herO is also defending the runway at the top. Trying to make sure that these Zealots don't deal that much damage, so he splits 3 Hydras and 2 Lurkers there while attacking on this side. And these Lurkers are probably going to try to cancel this base, yeah. Very natural and good army movement now from herO offensively, kills the 5th base. Falls back here because herO threatens to counterattack. This was a great move from herO. This was a desperate move from herO. If he doesn't counterattack here, if he engages into this one, I think he probably, at the very least, I think he loses the Nexus if he tries to take it slow, and if he goes on for a full-on engagement, it's probably not worthwhile. As well as these Lurkers would have ran into the natural 100%. They also could have even ran into the Nidus and reinforced this position to make it even higher to attack. But yeah, herO is now, okay, herO is now 5 base against the 4 of herO, so he sees, okay, herO is just counterattacking, let me get back home. One thing that herO could have done better is leave more Lurkers here to kill this Nexus. And maybe bring these Lurkers back home. Instead he brought these Lurkers back home, and this is where you see the weakness of the Lurker. If you're ever out of position, defensively, offensively, on creep, off creep, doesn't really matter. You cannot run at this army. This army you can't run at. With these Lurkers. You can have more Lurkers than he has here as well. You can't run at it because the Immortals kill like 2 or 3 Lurkers at a time. You disengage while storming, you run back, and then the Lurkers all of a sudden are out of range. So if herO now runs at him, herO kites this way, kills a couple Lurkers, storms, kills a couple Lurkers, storms, you're not gonna kill anything, and this base is also dead. So yeah. herO accepts that, he tries to counterattack and do maximum damage. herO, instead of killing that base, is a misread Immortal, he recalls, right? And he still has half of his army here, so he's trying to cut off this army. This was very nice. He didn't recall the entire army, so he's trying to catch all of these Lurkers. And he does exactly that. herO took too slow to borrow them, didn't expect the army from the back. Even if he borrowed them, they would not have killed a whole lot. Lurkers are not very good if you come in from 360-degree angle with a full surround. But now, since herO killed the 2 bases, he's ahead. Economically, but herO's army now is really good, right? We're taking a look at their armies. It's 9 Lurkers only, we're 7 Immortals, 2 Tempest, 5 Archons, 6 High Templars, with significantly better upgrades as well. So this position is not that bad for herO anymore, and if you think about it, that's pretty crazy considering he lost his entire army here, while losing like 50 supply worth of units against 5 Lurkers plus a Mothership to a bunch of Queens. That was a great run by from herO here as well, and this is what herO does really well himself, is he's always on the map, he's poking and prodding. Here herO didn't pay attention, lost a couple of units. He realizes, okay, the Lurkers are not in position. One thing that herO does better than almost any other Protoss is that he keeps checking. It's not that bad if you go forward and the Lurker spines go out, you can even still dodge them. Very often you will even naturally dodge the first volley of the Lurkers if you go forward with Stalkers, but even if you just blink forward to check how many Lurkers there are, just stay on the move. Whenever they're out of position, it is great for you, and you can kill a couple of bases. So now they are actually out of position. He could kill this base, instead he's recalling to the top and killing the top base instead. So it's also a good move, once again. herO can't defend this. This is what I was talking about. The Lurkers, if they have to run at the Protoss army, are terrible units. So he recalls with the mothership. And he was just generally very successful with splitting up his army. At this point, I think herO has taken the lead again. Because he killed this base from Cyril and he has the better army, and this base is also super fresh. He just needs to get one extra base up, which Cyril is trying to deny consistently. He has creep here and the knight is here. So it's difficult for herO to expand at this point. He now once again sees the ground army at the top. He tries to counterattack with his own lurkers. We're taking a look at it from Cyril's point of view now. Leaves only a single lurker and disengages with the rest, trying to save maximum amount of lurkers and saves all. Exactly all of those. That was well done. Everything now moving towards the bottom. Okay, now he realizes, okay, I can just split up my army once again. That's exactly that. Here's the Nidus, goes to the bottom. I would have loved to see him clear some creep here. Cyril being so annoying with the burrow. Even as a burrow roach here. herO saying, okay, you don't have this base, as a burrow zergling here. herO just wants to take any base at this point. He's fine with taking this one as well, but there is something everywhere. He even sees the probe being exposed, trying to snipe it. herO also being active. Cyril also doesn't have creep. herO's playing very fast and he has his army split up all the time. There's action happening constantly. So Cyril is having a very hard time replenishing the creep. He's also forced to use the queens in fights. Otherwise, his half of... Like, if you leave 6 lurkers here without the queens, this army just stomps it, right? So you need to leave some queens over here at the very least, together with the lurkers. And now herO can recall to the right or to the left. The moment this nexus is done, it's very, very scary for Cyril. You also absolutely do not want to let herO get shield batteries up here with a super battery, because from there, it's very hard to engage into a Tempest player. So it's important for Cyril to engage into this position, especially. He now went for Broodlords, which is very good against what herO has, because herO's army is mostly Immortal Archon, right? It's 2 Tempest. That's cool and all, but most of his army is just Immortal Archon. He basically has 2 ground armies that he has split up in a mothership. Still doesn't clear that creep. Maybe now he will. Okay, Cyril now doing a surprise tactic with his army, just running the Broodlords from all the way from the bottom to all the way to the top. Offside there, that catches some units with the Fange, kills a bunch here. I think this is where herO messed up a little bit. If herO was down here with the rest of his army, and he just kept half of his army here, I think he could have killed both of these. I think herO, at this point, he starts playing a lot worse than what he did before in terms of army movement. I think stress started to get to him a little bit, because he didn't split his army as much anymore. He kept it together, and he didn't even split the mothership. This is stuff that he did so good, so well rather, the entire way through. But at this point, he messed up a bit. He should have cleared this creep, he was right next to it, and then he could have postured here. And if he sees the Broodlords are here, you recall the army to the top, and then you attack. It's very simple. If the Broodlords are not here, you kill these bases, because he had such a big army here. If you go back for a second, I can show you after this base dies. This army right here, I think should... First of all, it should really clear the creep, because he keeps trying to take this base instead of this, just because there's creep here. This army can really hold its own. It's very difficult to kill this army if you don't get Fungal plus Broodlords. You can't run at it with Lurkers, Lings, anything. Honestly, any ground army doesn't trade well against this. So you need the Broodlords plus the Infestors. So this army, I think this is a very nice army split that herO went for here. I just wish he would have engaged like this. He could have killed this base for sure. There's only 1 lurker, there's 2 lurkers here. And the moment he sees the Broodlords, you can recall to the top and then kill this base. Potentially even threatening to go here. Because just these units, they're fine against what this is, right? The Queens plus the lurkers and the 3 spines, which against 3/3, 2 ground from Protoss with Immortals doesn't really do anything. So the spines are... In my eyes, they don't count for anything. But yeah, if this joins up with this, this position would never survive without the Broodlords. Cyril is dependent on the Broodlords, and Side Delta is a map that is terrible for Broodlords, because you can... It's such a wide map. You can attack at the... You can expand on both sides consistently and always attack where the Broodlords are not. this is where I think herO failed a little bit. He now clears the rocks here. All of these bases he could have killed. All of them are super exposed. And I really don't get why he even moved here to begin with, because he doesn't want to fight the Broodlords. The Broodlords' weakness is not the direct engagement. It is that they can't move across. The moment they move across, you can counterattack. They're also bad against shield batteries, so that's another weakness. You can't really attack for two different reasons. The damage output is not big enough to go into like fortified positions, and number two is they're just too immobile. But I really wish herO would have went here. So now he groups up his entire army. Ends up getting Tempest abducted. Not too bad though. Tempests are not that expensive, so whenever you get one Tempest abducted and you get a couple of Storms on the Corruptors, it's honestly not a bad trade for the Protoss whatsoever. And yeah, he's now F2ing a lot. You can see all of this being moved together. You know, F2'd everything towards the bottom for the Lurkers. And he's now finally clearing up the creep. No, he's not doing it actually. He's just starting to be indecisive. Now he splits up the army again. That was nice. He just selected it. Alt 1 and the rest is in 2. I'm pretty sure. And now he realized, okay, I can go to the bottom here. This base is completely exposed. You can just kill it. And you always just want to fight wherever the Broodlords are not. You need Broodlords and Infestors to catch any of these units. So the moment you know where the Infestors are, you know on the other side you can actually engage. Like the Infestors and the Broodlords in combination. Infestors alone are good at catching. I mean, Infestors are honestly even more important than the Broodlords, because it's the only unit that catches. If Broodlords just run here, they don't do anything. These units just run away. So you need the combination of these. He also keeps pressing cloaking, which is good. Protoss players for some reason forget, and now it's the next massive mistake from herO is because he just doesn't pay attention. Which happens. I want to take a look at where his vision is at this point. So he switches very quickly, and now his... What is he aim? He's A-moving... He A-moved his entire army here. So all of these units are A-moved towards the bottom. And he still doesn't look, but the Infestors, they're in vision range. These Infestors are one-shottable, by the way, by feedback. But he's A-moving also the High Templars to the bottom, and he's move commanding the High Templars away. Now he looks at the top, and all of his units are being lured. And he feedback the Infestors is already used in Nuril, which doesn't help. So he loses most of the army, but the one thing that he does really well is the moment he realizes, okay, he has the Infestors and the Broodlords here, now I can do stuff on the other side. This has to be the very least thing that you do as Protoss if you have your army split. So he goes in here. Kills the space, that's good. And now he has to recall for this Lurker. Another thing that herO just didn't take a look at was this. He just didn't look. And this is... I mean, these are big mistakes, but they're forgivable mistakes. It's a very hectic game. This can happen to the best. But herO messed up big time here. He lost his entire army because he didn't look, and then he lost 30 probes to a single Lurker. Because he didn't look as well. He warped in Stalkers to try and catch a Lurker here. He didn't even realize he had a Lurker at this base until he recalls. So now herO is in a bad position again. He was winning at first. I think pretty significantly winning. Then he fucked up big time. Then he was winning again until just now. I think actually with proper execution, I think Cyril is dead already. At this point, before he catches the army here, I think Cyril is completely dead. Because this map, you can't do anything with Broodlords. You don't really have a win condition. Like, how do you move out? You can't. That's also why you see Cyril still chilling in the base. The moment you move out, the Protoss counterattacks, you lose all your bases. They recall and kill your army eventually. And the Zerg army is way, way, way worse at killing bases. So the Broodlords, until they even get here, and then they would need to walk towards the next base, there's cannons, overcharge, Storm can buy time. Broodlords are just very slow. So I think Cyril's entire game plan in this game was, I hope, herO suicides. But herO did a good job at splitting his army for most of it. Then he messed up and didn't pay attention a couple of times now. But he's still not that. It's not like Cyril can just attack, move across the map with the Broodlords. It's very difficult. The only base that he maybe could kill is this one. But then he completely sacks this base. He runs into a lot of Lurkers over here. Let me put back on the sound. He's now making Void Rays. These are safety Void Rays. I think herO expected herO to move across, and if he doesn't have enough anti-air, the Void Rays can come in handy, but Void Rays for the style that herO's playing are also not very good. They don't synergize well with his army. His army is mostly about splitting and poking and prodding, and Void Rays are not good at that whatsoever. They also don't really make it that much harder to split. Up the Zerg army, at this point hero's already maxed again. And there goes in here from the top, trying to kill a bit. Once again, I wish he would have had the mothership on the other side at the very least, if he doesn't split his units, because then he can go here. If the Broodlords are here, you recall. If the Broodlords are not here, you keep doing what you're doing, because then the Zerg doesn't have a catch. If the Zerg ever catches you and the mothership is not with your army, you can also just press the recall button, because these units are very tanky. Oh, he now does it, okay. That's good. He's also distracting with Zealots, he's distracting with this Nexus, not sure if that was on purpose. He kills both of these bases, and honestly... there's a cute escape there with an Nidus. He finally clears a creep. No, never mind, never mind. That creep I guess never gets cleared. I didn't pay that close attention to that creep, but it's ridiculous that he never cleared this with a Zealot and an Observer. I suppose it's hard to do it. With all of the stuff going on, but yeah, that's not great. So then he recalls to the top to defend the lurkers. At this point I don't really mind him bringing the mothership because it doesn't have the thing on cooldown, but then I would like him to fly it down again in case herO tries to expand. And just like that, without anything happening, you guys remember this, right? Where herO lost his entire army here and 30 probes over here. herO is now winning again. He has extra mining bases. herO doesn't have this base. This base is mined out, this base. herO's on one base mining with an army that cannot attack. I can't stress this enough. This army cannot attack. If you run into this and there's Tempest standing above, just clicking the Broodlords, it's not gonna work. And even worse, if you run into this and the Protoss army goes like this, whoop, you're dead. Because Broodlords don't kill buildings quick enough, Broodlords are not quick enough to kill anything in time, and Protoss has the recall function. So at this point, I think herO is kind of out of winning conditions, unless herO suicides. The one thing that herO cannot do, and he should not do, is take a direct engagement. herO at this point is 162 army supply with an insanely big army. This army is so valuable and so big. The last thing that herO should do right now is fight. He can try to poke, I think that's kind of cool. But what I would rather have him do is split his army, and whenever he spots the Broodlords, even just spots them with the Oracles, or even the Infestors are also great to spot. Over here, he has them revealed. That's the reason they went so far back, is probably because they were revealed. You know that you can poke. So he goes in here. herO can't engage it without the Infestors. He gives up the base. He's still being annoying here with a lurker. herO now trying to play the bottom of the map, but he only has 35 workers, and now he's once again just on one base mining. At this point, if we take a look at the income, he's not mining anything because he transfers all the drones for the one mining base to the new mining base. Every minute that goes on is good for herO. Every single minute that goes on is good for herO. I think herO is in an incredible position in this game, and he fought himself there just with good game understanding of how to play against Zerg. He even got caught off guard like 20 times already this game, and he's getting caught off guard again. He gets a fungal parasitic bomb combo on top of him, but he puts the time warp and herO needs to disengage. If I may say so myself, I also would count this as a mistake, because you can try to split your Void Ray apart. He doesn't even try to, he just tanks the entire damage, which is a very manly move, but I'm not sure that is a very good move. So now the mothership goes down. These Voiders are not that great anyways. You could split them as well. It would make it even harder for the Zerg. Let's say these Voiders would be going down here. Could maybe snipe a base or two. There's so many things you can do with army movement, where I think herO missed the mark a little bit at this very late stage of the game. That he did so well for the rest of the tournament, honestly. The rest of the tournament he did it perfectly. But in this deciding game 5 against herO, I think he was feeling a little stressed, which is understandable. once again, I want to stress that I don't think Cyril has a real winning condition here. Unless he mines like half the map. Mining half the map would be a winning condition or a hero to suicide into him. But mining half the map is very hard because your army doesn't split, is slow, and on this map in general you can expand on both sides. So then hero once again expands here, so now once again there should be an army split attacking the top side at the very least, or a mothership. He didn't remake the mothership, I think. Oh no, he did actually. And it's going to the top. Once again, good move here. That's a good move from him. Then he once again gets parasitic bombed, and I think he just does a micro again. Flies them in the middle of the rest. Loses void race to 2 parasitic bombs. I think that is avoidable. Good feedbacks though. If there's one thing that I think he improved a ton on, it's his High Templar control. Hero didn't really play that many late games, and I feel like in last month he just practiced late games. Like, I was on an elevator with him after day 1. And I asked him, what did you practice while you were gone? Because you hid what you were doing, right? He didn't play any open caps and usually plays all of them, and he just said late game. And after he lost against Cyril, he told me he wants to play Cyril again and just play late game against him. Because he's just confident in that Protoss late game is good and he can win in the late game. So I loved seeing that he also won a late game in game 1 of that series. That he can play a straight up head-to-head game against Cyril, like in this one, without any tricks whatsoever, and just win by like superior army movement. So once again, I wish his mothership would go here. I'm not sure why it went back to the army. If he gets this set up, it's also not bad though. Once again, Cyril needs to fight here. You absolutely cannot let this get up. If there's like 10 batteries here, with an overcharged battery, you can never fight into this, and the pros can start poking at these 2 bases. So these 2 bases are going to be goners. That's why you see Cyril, the only time he ever feels forced to attack is in here, and even though he might lose some Broodlords whenever he does it, it's still worth it. Now hero splits 4 Immortals up there. Together with an Oracle. I think the wide race would be kind of cool. And now he sees the Infestors here, which is huge. That means he can attack here. I think he was a little bit slow. I'm not sure what he's looking at. Okay, he's setting all of this in. But the moment he sees the Infestors were here, you know they can't be down here already. So you can kill this base and this base as well. He does exactly that. That's just playing smart. F2 some Immortals here is not an issue. This, I do not recommend. I think the moment you see the Broodlords here, the correct move, if you follow my logic, is you recall to this base. He has recall on cooldown, either of these bases is fine. You just recall here. It would have been even better if the mothership was here and he recalled to the mothership. Then he kills these 2 bases. Cyril is once again 1 base mining. This base doesn't even have all the mineral patches anymore. And hero still has these 2 bases. He can expand up here after he kills it and expand. I don't even know why he's taking this base consistently, but he could take this base as well. Hero couldn't lose this game if he doesn't take a fight right now. I genuinely don't think that Cyril would ever win this game if hero doesn't take a fight. If he just keeps running and fighting on the side where the Broodlords are not, which you absolutely can do because this unit called the Oracle has a Revelation ability. It's not that easy to hide Broodlords from the Protoss. And if you see the Broodlords, you can always recall. It's not like they instantly kill your entire army, the Broodlords either. So hero kills this base, which this went quite well for him as well. He lost more resources, but that's actually okay in this matchup, especially on this map because you mine more as the Protoss. There are some maps that are better in late game than this one. And here was the last huge mistake that hero made. Afterwards, I'm also going to go through some of the mistakes that Cyril made. I think hero overall played amazing. I don't want to belittle anything here, but it has to be said because I already saw, you know, I'm gonna talk about this later. Anyways, he warps in Stalkers here and he wants to go for the fight because he thinks he has the game won. I think this is why he's doing it. If he keeps playing this game, there's no point attacking into this army. You could just recall and kill the bases and you have won the game. Cyril has no mining anymore. If you kill these 2 bases, the game's over. Like, Cyril would need to attack into you and then you can always base trade. I don't think you will ever need to fight these Broodlords if you play the game properly. But hero looked at it, he warped in Stalkers, he was like, okay, I'm smelling weakness. But there was no weakness, bro. You're behind for the army supply. You don't need to do this. And it ended up costing him the game. As we can see here, he blinks in, gets fanged with everything. Now he realizes, oh my god, my entire ground army is gone. I have Carrier Tempest here, which is not a buff battery. If he has all of these Carriers and Tempest alive over here, with his gas bank, he warps in High Templars. Cyril can't do anything still, but he gets dove. He recalls just the Carriers, so he leaves these guys alone. The Archon gets knurled. Cyril tries to break this position. You can see that it's still super close. And at the same time, he warped in High Templars here. If he warped in Zealots, he still kills these two bases. We still have a game, because Cyril doesn't have mining. Then you can try to run away with the Tempest, make some new Tempest, maybe get them over here. Play from this side. Actually, at this point, here also doesn't have that much mining anymore. But really, just these two bases were so exposed. On this map, Broodlords are frowned upon from Zerg pro gamers, because we just lose every single late game. If the Protoss splits their army and they go wherever the Broodlords are not, they engage in a smart fashion. They disengage smartly, they have good army movement. It's almost impossible to win this map with Broodlords. And Cyril made it happen, and it's not that herO made one big mistake that cost him the game. It's not he got fungled once. It's like he didn't look at his army 3 times. Not more than 3 times. He didn't look at his army like 8 times. And also, he didn't need to attack there. If he didn't attack there, the game's over. Honestly, if he recalls instead of attacking here, he recalls top, kills these bases, I think the game's over. It's done. What can Cyril do with the Broodlords? He either goes here to defend. I mean, at this point, herO's that he doesn't have enough army anymore. Cyril tries to re-expand to the bottom. And now Cyril's just trying to hunt down the army of herO because he has more left than herO does. It is still a little bit deceiving because 15 corruptors make up for 30 of the army supply, so it's not really 124, it's more like 94 army supply. But yeah, at this point, herO doesn't have enough anymore. So if we go back here. I'm gonna unmute this a little bit. I really wanted to analyze this game because it was super fun. And this was my favorite series ever. And it's the first time I checked StarCraft Reddit, actually. The first time, because I was like, oh my god, I'm so hyped. The entire green room was so hyped. Like, we were watching it downstairs because we were waiting for it to finish. Like, we have to wait downstairs in case the series finishes at any time. So I was watching it with Kalaris and 2 other people that were analyzing the series with me. I think it was maybe Rotti and Ben. And we were super hyped for the game the entire way through. I think even the sound people started to getting into it, and upstairs in the green room, everybody was hyped. I know the casters were hyped. Everybody was hyped. I was like, oh my god. I'm gonna check Reddit for the first time. I want to get some happy fields. They're gonna be happy about this. And what do I see? I see 2 balance wine threads about Protoss being unplayable. You get punished too hard for making one mistake. This game was won all the time. They're talking about a fucking corrosive bile that herO didn't take a look at. This type of stuff happens. But then there were people talking about you get fungled once and you lose. Made herO lost his entire army 3 times in this game, and he still was winning it. He was winning this game at this point 100%. Without a shadow of a doubt, he was winning this game. The moment he kills this base, before he kills this base already, I think the game's over. But I just want to go in for some theory crafting, right? What if you recall to the top? You might lose like a carrier, maybe? A carrier against these corruptors. Potentially 1 carrier, right? Let's say 1 carrier and maybe this Archon dies. You recall to the top. What do you do now as a Zerg? We're looking at it from Sarah's perspective. What do you do with these Broodlords? You go here to try and kill this base that is fortified. You will lose all of this, and the Protoss army will... By the time this is dead, the Protoss army will be here, killing your buildings. So then you're here. We're just theory crafting now, right? If your answer is you go to this base, you're here, you have all of your Broodlords and your Infestors still alive. The Protoss killed the last of your bases. You still have some bank, so you probably have to spend that now, because I'm not even sure how you spend it, because you won't have the larva. But either way, let's say you escape with all of these drones, you remake a hatchery down here. Where do you go with the Broodlords now? You have to go back here to defend, right? There's all your attack here. You have to go here to defend. And then you're out of position with Broodlords trying to run into the Tempest. The Tempest can disengage. herO can re-expand to this base, which he should have taken ages ago. And from that point on, what's your win condition, really? Hero, you need to stay here with the Broodlords to defend that base. If you don't, that base will die. You need to re-expand them to the top. Your opponent will always mine more than you. Your Broodlords will always be chasing your opponent's army. The opponent's army can always counterattack. You do not have any way of splitting your units. Even just if hero makes 50 supply of ground, he keeps his air army here, let's say. After you lose these 2 bases no matter what. You kill this base. Let's say hero just has 5 Archons, a couple of Zealots, and 2 High Templars. You cannot, at all, engage that without your Broodlords. So if he has that ground army up here, you will never be able to expand anymore, and I think the game is just straight up over. I think this was a giga throw. Because he warped in Stalkers here. Let's say he warps in the Zealots here, right? He kills those spaces. I wish I could resume this with my own off-race against Cyril. Because I don't think this is winnable at all from the Zerg's POV. I think it's just theoretically I cannot find a way where Zerg wins this. And I understand that this is a tournament situation. I'm not hating or something. I can see myself. I myself tunnel vision so many times in tournament games when I'm about to win against a better player. Because you're like, oh my god, I have this, I have this. They're weak now, they're weak now. I lost in the top 3, the tournament where I beat Cyril in the European regionals. I lost game 5 against Rainer, where I was miles ahead. By tunnel visioning and attacking into him even though I didn't need to. So I'm the last person to judge someone for this. But don't tell me that the Protoss lost because he made one mistake. The biggest game-losing mistake, even though there were a couple of game-losing mistakes, given that he lost his entire army here, it was this. Just attacking into the Zerg, there was no reason to do it. I think the Zerg doesn't have a splittable army anymore. He has only a single Lurker and 9 Broodlords. This is anti-ground in the 20 links. This is anti-ground. If you split your army at this point as Protoss, the game's over. It's GG. And if you don't split your army, just go wherever the Broodlords are not, and it's still GG. And you're just getting outmined by like 2-fold. Protoss can keep expanding, Zerg cannot. It's, I think, completely over, and this was a sad throw for hero, which in the end also changed the tournament outcome, because if hero had won... No, actually, if hero had won, well, maybe Maru could have advanced into the knockout bracket, and then we would have had... If Maru advanced to the top 4, it would have been Maru against Clem, actually, and then we would have had a completely different bracket. Well, either way. It's yeah. This was a crazy series. It was a crazy good game from hero as well as Cyril. I just loved watching it. I was just disappointed by seeing the reaction, but I think no one even uses Reddit anymore, if I'm going to be honest. Pig told me that most people are nowadays just watching in Discord, and that's more wholesome. So I'm going to start joining some Discords. If you guys want, I can make some tournament discussion channel on my Discord, and you guys can join that one as well. But let me take a look at one thing that a lot of you guys might have asked, which is, couldn't Cyril have attacked after he clears the army? Right here, where he gets all the Neurals, right? Because I'm wondering that myself as well. Since that one looked like a game-losing mistake to me as well. Because you tend to, with no race actually, be able to lose your entire army and then still win the game. So he gets the Neurals, he kills the army. Okay, now. Whoop, a little bit further back. Okay, these Broodlords. Where should they go? They have to go here, right? It's just against the army split, there's not much you can do, I think, in terms of attacking. By the time you then run across the map, obviously Cyril doesn't also know the bank of hero. Hero does have a bank, but Cyril will probably assume that hero has a bigger bank than him, since he's getting outmined. Also just lost 30 workers, so before this, hero had 60 workers. The Broodlords go here to defend, and now could he have attacked? I think the answer is yes. It is scary to attack, but I think the answer is yes. There's also, you have to look at it from Cyril's POV, there is no creep, so it would be without the queens. So it's just these Corruptors plus these Broodlords. And then maybe he could have lost against the Void Ray reinforcements, plus Stalkers, plus Batteries, plus Tempest. But at this point he still has 9 Lurkers, so if the Lurkers go down here together with the Queens, and the Broodlords go up here, and then you sack this. If herO is so smart to send Zealots like this, I think you sack this. Then I think you can attack with the Broodlords and maybe kill this base and this base. And then if herO just decides to base here, I'm not sure what happens. It's just such a big distance. Like if you look at it from a Zerg POV, the Broodlords to go all the way over here opens yourself up to counterattacks. And if your only counterattack defense is the Lurkers, let's say the Lurkers are positioned here with the Queens, right? That's what I suggested. And then the Protoss goes like this, and then all of a sudden he's in between your bases and he can kite the Lurkers. It's not easy to ever engage. Broodlords also just take so long to kill. I'm actually not sure it would have been the correct call to attack. I talked with Rotti about this. I think maybe he could have killed this space. And then position down here, expand on this side, have Lurkers up here maybe with the Queens. The moment your Broodlords are here, once again, you're open for counterattacks. It is very scary. It is very scary to make moves on side delta to the other side of the map with Broodlords. This is also, I think, a very hard map for Broodlords. Like, I think herO made a lot of mistakes, and this is the map that enabled him to win. So it's not like Protoss can make these mistakes on every map. If he makes these mistakes on Oceanborn, I think he will die, or on any shorter map, like, I don't know, Ghost River or whatever. But I love the way that herO played this game. And he didn't make one mistake and then lost the game. Protoss doesn't need any tricks to win the game. That's my favorite takeaway from this, because herO actually just played Standard. He beat Raynor 5-0, he beat Solar. Was it also 3-0? And I think this series, he kind of beat Sarah 3-2 because this game was won. And then if he doesn't get Corrosive Bite, I don't know what happens on Crimson Court. Honestly, I have never seen... I was never on a position like this, exactly. So, with all my expertise, I cannot tell you who was even winning that game. But this one I can tell you herO was definitely winning, and I just wanted to analyze it. I'm not just rambling on. I feel like I made this way too long. Let me know what you guys think. If you guys want to support me, make sure to sub on my Twitch. That's the best way of supporting me right now. And yeah, I'm just gonna cut it short before I ramble on for more hours. This was just... I feel like this was almost an hour just for this single game. If you want more of this content, let me know, and I'll be happy to deliver it. Thank you guys for watching, and see you guys in the next video. Bye bye!